Welcome back to Judo Highlights. One of the greatest things in Judo is the team events, and that just finished at the European Championships. So we'll start at the quarterfinals and we'll go all the way through to the finals. If you're interested in the bronze medal matches, I recommend using my code, going to JUDOTV and watching those for yourself. It's a great one. We've got upsets, we've got a legend breaking his arm, and some controversy in the final. And I won't tell you guys who wins in the finals. We'll keep that a secret until the end, so strap in, grab a drink, and let's go. So this is Russia versus France in the quarterfinal of one of the brackets. And this is Mongol versus Bashayev. Interestingly, Bashayev didn't compete in the individuals, so Russia had two other heavyweights competing there. But have a look at this. He really came out to just show his stuff. An amazing seoi otoshi from the belt grip. Now, if you're new to judo and you don't know the format, it's basically a six-man team, and it's the first to 4 points. Now, they randomize the weight categories, and basically that starts the order. So we just had Bashayev and Mongol, who were competing in the plus 90 kg category, which is the biggest. And so here we're seeing the lightest category, and it'll just go up in weight until we have a team with 4 points. So that seoi nage sealed the deal for Russia. 2 points up for Russia heading into the third match here. And next up, this is Lavrentev, and he became European champion just a few days before. Beautiful kochi here in the golden score, so 3 points up for Russia, not looking good for France. And this is the next contest. Now, if it does end up happening to be a draw, 3 points each, they do another randomizer and decide which weight category is going to compete in the decider. So Gehi here gets a score, and that was enough to win that contest. Now for the quarterfinals, I am moving quite fast, there's a lot to get to, but the finals will definitely have an in-depth look. Now a big throw here, and this is by Arbuzov. And Matthew obviously down on points, really needs a win for his team, so he does look to secure something in the newaza. But check this out by Arbuzov. If you don't know, he is a real flexible guy, and he also has really good newaza. So you'll see him get out of this armbar, and then he'll launch into an attack of his own on the ground. Really just dominating Matthew on the ground here. And we saw Lavrentev for Russia, European champion, and also Arbuzov, European champion. So Russia really sending out their best for this team event. France, I cannot say the same. There's no Teddy Renier, of course, and a number of their other top talents. So France gets eliminated here, Russia goes through. And now we're going to have a look at the other bracket, which is Italy versus Belgium. And this is again at the heavyweights, so starting with the heavyweights, and Pirelli gets a nice kataguruma here. Moving on to the next weight category, which is under 57. Blue looking for an uranage, but just a really sticky kochi for Toniolo, gets the score. So that's 2 points now for Italy, up to under 73 now, and it is Lombardo. And he gets a kataguruma as well, so a really popular throw for the Italians. Now this throw just in the first 10 seconds of the contest, but Bachayev and Blue couldn't get it back, and so 3 points up for Italy. Now Belgium, they finally get a point here. Sumigaishi, and 3-1 going into the next contest. And we'll have an extended look at this one. This is Parlati. He is our new European champion at under 90s. And I think he's got a bit more pep in his step now that he is European champion. Really just putting pedal to the metal and looking for all sorts of throws. They did give this a U-call, so 2 U-calls on the board now. And then he gets another. So Pirelli, there's another Uchimata, another U-call. You'll see the score properly reflected in a second. And this time 3 U-calls on the board. Looks for a little bit of newaza. Interesting turnover here with 2 hands on the belt. Rolls him over, eventually gets the osaikomi. Just 15 seconds left on the clock though, but Palati does get another U-call here, so 4 for him, and then his opponent does eventually tap, gives him the ippon. So that makes it 4-1 for Italy, and they are in to the semifinals. So we've got Russia and Italy in the semifinals. And this next quarterfinal Georgia versus Austria. This will be the last quarterfinal I will look at. So if you want to have a look at Germany and Turkey, as I said, go to JUDOTV. Now again, starting with the heavyweights, and Tushishvili gets a beautiful score here. And I just figured this out, but they randomize the weight categories, but they keep it the same across the board. So all the quarterfinal matches started with plus 90. Next up, we've got Lipitiliani, and this is a big throw from her. And she is just becoming a real force at under 57 in the teams, especially for Georgia. Now this next one, this is Shavdat Tuashvili, and I do want you guys to just pay attention to this. I did mention a broken arm, a potential broken arm here. So have a look as Shavdat Tuashvili falls to the ground here. And I've seen this happen a couple of times actually at my own dojo as well. Sometimes results in dislocations, but Shavdat Tuashvili walking off, going straight to the doctor. And so Austria, they get a point for that contest. Now Maizaradze, he gets a nice score here, similar to Bashayev's Sewe Otoshi, but I do want to call this a Tayatoshi. I really hate the naming of this technique. But anyway, we're going to talk about the semifinals now, and the first one we'll do is Russia and Italy, but the other bracket we do have Georgia and Germany. So for the semifinals, we started with under 57, and this is Gefrida, current world champion. She's got beautiful ashiwaza. There's an ashibarai just for Yuko, which was enough to win this contest. Now in the next contest, Lavrentev, he's up here against Esposito. And Lavrentev, he is our new European champion, as I did just mention earlier. But he gets thrown here. And it looks a bit weird, but the bridging, definitely got to give Ippon for the bridging. And so 2 points for Italy. Italy 2 points up against Russia at this point in the team's competition. Now here we have under 70, and this is Antonova against Pedrotti. And this throw here, this was the only throw in the contest. I really struggled to see that it is enough for Yuko, but might just be a bad camera angle. So Russia getting their first point here, and we move up to under 90s. This time we've got Lor Sanov against Bedell, and I'm not exactly sure why Palati was not competing in this match, but they are allowed more than 6 members. And just to cover injuries, you're going to see an epic injury cover in a minute for the person who takes over Shavdat Tuashvili at under 73 for Georgia. But anyway, here is the score for Bedell. Definitely enough for Yuko. Much more than the one we just had in the previous contest. And so 3 points to Italy, 1 to Russia. And here's a big Osotogari from Tavano. And then she goes for an Ochigari. Big arm over the top, enough for a Yuko. And then it is impossible to see exactly what's going on, but she doesn't look for the Osai Komi. She's actually working on something here with the arm. And she does get a tap. So Italy taking out Russia. They are through to the finals. And this is the other semi-final here, starting again at under 57. And we have Georgia against Germany. Now these two here, this is Lipitiliani and Balhas, and this is just a rematch of the final we had a couple of days ago. So Balhas, European champion, and then Lipitiliani manages to stay strong in the position, gets the counter, moves into Osai Komi, but they do score it in Ippon, and so gets her revenge against current European champion, gets a point for her team. So that is pretty massive. This is Shavdat Tuashvili's replacement at under 73, Bak Hashvili. And he put on a really good performance, really kind of filled the shoes of Shavdat Tuashvili. Here's a nice Wazari against Wandake, who is always a strong competitor, the last person to beat Ono Shohei. And I don't know what's going on here, but he picks him up and throws him. Another Wazari. Beautiful Kabarelli or Obitori Gaishi, whatever word you want to use. So another point for the Georgians. And this is Chanchuria against Pole. And then Uchimata here does it for Georgia for another point here. So this is the 3rd point for Georgia. And it's Maizaradze against Cavaliers. And Maizaradze, he gets a beautiful combination here Looks for the Tayatoshi, doesn't get it, and then just chains it into a Sumigaishi. So really nice, and that was the score that put the 4th point on the board for Georgia. Now, the final, moving on to the final. It was a great one. I mean, usually we have France versus Japan, but this was a great final. Great matches and just a little bit of controversy. So for the finals, under 73 is the beginning weight category, and we've got Lombardo, and he's up against Bakbakashvili. The replacement for Shavdat almost throws Lombardo. He almost looked like he was going to go over for Ippon there, and then he is looking for a choke as well. So Lombardo surviving some early adversity. Now, of course, for Lombardo, this is someone he probably doesn't know. He was probably expecting Shavdat Tuashvili to be here. So these guys, they can come out and they can really cause some upsets. Lombardo looking for the Hizaguruma. Doesn't get a score for it. Which, I mean, looking at it, it looks pretty surprising that he didn't get a score for that one. Now here's a Sode from Lombardo textbook. He threw Shavdat Tuashvili with that big technique, but Bakbakashvili survived. And now Lombardo on the back, looking for the Sode Guruma Jime. And he's really on top of it here. And you can just see Bakbakashvili tapping. So Lombardo survived that contest, got the win. I think he should have got that Yuko point earlier on. And moving on, we're into the next contest here. Palati against Maisaradze. So this is in the under 90 kg category. And I think here, Palati, as he's trying to just break the grip, a little bit of contact with the elbow against the face of Maisaradze, but these two just sharing a little bit of a moment. So that's good sportsmanship from the two. And Palati, he had a massive Uchimata earlier on, but most of the time that's what his Uchimata looks like. It's not the prettiest attack in the world, but he does get scores from it sometimes, which is really interesting. Maisaradze with the attack, and not a lot of Shidos on the board, so these guys are just giving us good judo, attacking judo. And I always find in the team events, they really go for it. I'm not sure exactly why. But you can see here, Palati tied up Maisaradze and then got him with a really good throw. They are quick to give it an Ippon, and I definitely agree it is an Ippon. But Maisaradze had him in a hold down, and so if it was just a Wazari, that would have been interesting. So Tavano now, up against Sompk-Ishvili at plus 70. And as you can see on the scoreboard, 2 points to Italy, so they're leading this contest in the final. Haraigoshi attempt here. Now an interesting maneuver to get into the Osaikomi here. Kind of isolating the arm. So Tavano into the Osaikomi. Sompk-Ishvili just tapping. So really controlling the arm there, Tavano. I wasn't sure if it was her in the semifinals who got that armbar. I think it was. So that's 3 points now for Italy, and one more from Pirelli here would do it. But he's up against Tushishvili, and there is a significant weight difference here. You can see the pressure that Tushishvili is applying to Pirelli. Here he is really just kind of smothering him. But the Italians, they like to put Pirelli out in this heavier weight category. He is good with the grips and really just isolating bigger guys. But I think Tushishvili just too much power for Pirelli. Goes down to the ground, bit of a wall soto there, and then Tushishvili into the newaza and gets him down. Not the prettiest, but he does readjust, isolating that arm while being in Yokoshiho here. So this means that Tushishvili, he's going to get that second point for Georgia, 3-2. And just remember, we started with under 73, so we haven't seen under 57 yet. And that is the next contest Toniolo against Lipitiliani. And we all know how influential Lipitiliani has been for the Georgian team. Now, Toniolo, she took a bronze at the European Championships. But Lipitiliani, I think she's just a little bit stronger, a little bit more experienced. And you can really tell, I mean, Toniolo is still very young. But for the individuals, the individual competitions, these two didn't meet. It was Ballhaus who took out Toniolo. So a little bit of a fresh contest. But I don't know about you guys, I can just see a real size difference between Lipitiliani and Toniolo. Now, this is the controversial moment. You can see it goes down into the newaza here. But Lipitiliani, as she goes for that turnover, just landing on the side of Toniolo's knee. And so it's kind of crazy. I don't understand this at all, but I mean, Lipitiliani doing something dangerous, injures her opponent's knee, and obviously we're not allowed to attack knees in judo, but just because it's a freak accident, Lipitiliani gets to walk off the mat with an ippon score, and that levels the playing field. That puts it up 3-3, Georgia against Italy. So what do you guys think in the comments? I definitely think something like that should be hansokumake. I think just jumping on knees is not good. You need to be careful. And so this is the final moment. This is Tavano against Somkishvili. Now Tavano, she just won through her opponent, went into the osaikomi, but Somkishvili in the golden score gets a throw here. I gotta say, it's a beautiful combination. Kochi, Osoto, and then Kosotogake. So a beautiful throw to win it, but I think that little bit of controversy there. The Italians, so close, they could have taken it. And so that's the results, guys. We've got Georgia with the gold medal, Italy second, and then, as I said, for the bronze medals, go check those out on JUDOTV, but I'll tell you the results now. Russia, they ended up taking out Turkey, and then Belgium and Germany in the other bracket. Germany winning that one. Belgium actually beat France 4-2. So quite surprising there. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.